Hello, it's me again, and as some of you may recall, I actually did a tutorial on this 4x4 axis cube. I guess you call it the master axis cube, which is a 4x4 version of this handsome guy over here. Well, when I did that tutorial, it was actually not as much of a tutorial as just a kind of a demonstration of the puzzle. And that's because at that time this really wasn't mass produced. I didn't think that anyone had it. Actually, not too many people did have it, so it was more of a demonstration of just what kind of a puzzle this is. Well, now that it's been mass produced, just like when I did the Megamorphinx tutorial, there have been a number of questions regarding getting into a little bit more detail on the solve with this. The solve of it was fairly detailed, but wasn't really coordinated as a tutorial so much as a demonstration. So what I figured I'd do is I'd have another go at it, but this time with the intent of being a little bit more clear about certain parts. Now, bear in mind this is not the mass-produced version, but really an axis cube is an axis cube, so I don't think it's going to be that much different. I don't think the shape of it's going to be that much different either. I've actually held off in getting the mass-produced version, although it's tempting because it's a black puzzle, which fits in my collection a lot better than white puzzles. So I might, but I think it would be the same. Now, it is probably a good idea that, number one, you know how to solve the 3x3 axis cube, which again is a modification where it looks like it's turning on the corner. It's actually not. This is actually the side. It's also important to understand how to solve a 4x4 because we're going to be dealing with this shadowy concept of parity and different types of parity, especially with reduction. Now, speaking of which, there's a variety of different ways that you can solve this puzzle. What I really like about 4x4s is that when you get it, you have almost like a couple puzzles in one because there's different ways of solving it. You can do it by reduction, where you reduce it to a 3x3, thus risking the parity problems that can occur with that. You can do it parity-free, giving it a little AI twist to it, or you can do it layer by layer. So it's a puzzle that will probably serve you well in a variety of different challenges. Just bear in mind, this is the side here. These are the centers. These pairs are the edges, here, 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 and here. And of course, corners are always corners. So I'm going to do this by a reductive method because that's what most people have, but I'm happy to do a parity-free solve as well, which would be kind of fun. So what I'm going to do is scramble this up. Now, anytime you get a modification, there's always a learning curve that happens with it. And bear in mind, in terms of the colors of the center, notice the centers have three colors to them. You've got the major colors and you've got the little minor color, which is going to be important to help define where the sides are going to be. So we'll scramble this puzzle up. And again, it starts off with a learning curve deciding what centers go where. So you can see these two are centerpieces. Now, the other thing I should point out is when dealing with a 4x4 mod, it's not just a supercube, it's a supercube with a twist. Notice these two puzzles have the same basic shape, but they're not interchangeable. So you don't have translational equivalency with this, nor on any of these pieces do you have rotational equivalency, or if I turn this upside down, it's not going to look the same. Now, not all 4x4 mods are like this, like the Megamorphinx does have translational equivalency and even some rotational equivalency. So that's something to bear in mind as you're attempting the solve of this puzzle, because, well, that could be confusing. So we'll go ahead and scramble this up over here, and I'll come back with a scary, scrambled-looking axis cube. Abracadabra. Okay, there it is. Really bizarre and scary-looking scrambled puzzle. This is actually a good conversation piece if I just accidentally leave it out and people come by, they see it, they wonder, what is this? What the heck is going on with this? And then show them what it is in a solved position. It's pretty cool. So I think it would be useful, beneficial to also have a 4x4 scrambled at the same time because we can draw parallels with each one. So we'll do the same thing with this one. Okay, so the first step in terms of perspective is here it's pretty easy to see what goes where. You've got four centerpieces, you've got edge pairs, and then you've got corners. Now, I've said before that my belief is as an odd layer puzzle, all of these pieces are really just specialized corners and can be treated as such. Remember that concept for later. But over here, just kind of get a feel for what we're looking at here. These are the centers. So these are four centers over here, centerpieces just like this. You've got edge pairs over here, which are obviously mixed up, and then you've got these corners here. So this is your axis of turning. If you bear that in mind, no matter how you look at it, you'll be able to move it. The catchiness of the puzzle happens more when things aren't lined up. So the first step is, in a reductive strategy, we'll start off with center reduction. Center reduction is really just a matter of moving things into position. So if I were to do the green one, move this into here. This guy moves here, and then bring it up. Now normally what I would do is I do the one across from it, but in this case what you would do is you would just, I would just do the one that's next to it, only because here it's a little easier to figure out what's supposed to come across from it. Of course, if you just memorize the color scheme, that makes it easier as well. But for instance, I can take this red, move it into here, and then find another red pair. I've already got this here, kersplat. So what goes over here? Well, I can easily figure that out just by using a corner piece to guide me. So here's green, red, and green, so I know that white comes over to here. So to put in all the rest, what it is it's a matter of just moving it into place. So I want to take this white, move it next to this white over here. So it's you can do by way of sliding U technique, which I've shown in the past, or you can do it by way of just moving it in this plane, then bumping this pair out of the way, and then moving it back out so that you can bring this back in. So it's just a matter of positioning. Didn't affect this either. This other white, this is already in over here. So it's kind of like I'm casting a net, throwing this out to here, turning it to bring this into position and bringing it back. That way I don't destroy this side over here. Again, this is basics, but I never know what level people are on. So this is white over here. The next one, opposite red, is going to be orange. I've got one into here. This can just be done by a sliding U technique, which means I take it in from this plane, move it in from the right slice, slide it to the left, move it back from the left, slide it back, this slice to the right, back on the right, slide it to the left, back on the left. That way I'll put that in without mixing anything else up. The last two centers are easy because with the last two centers, by getting one in, you get the other one in. This is going to be the yellow. So again, sliding U technique, this comes to here, down from the left, swing it to the right, this whole slice to the right, down on the right, swing it back to the left, up on the left, back to the right, up on the right. So you can see how quick and easy it is to get the centers. So let's see how this translates onto this beast over here. Well, let's go ahead and hit the greens. The way that this is going to work is you're going to have these shapes over here across from each other diagonally, and the solid areas diagonally over here. Now you can see that this demonstrates how these green pieces here, these trapezoidal center pieces, are not equivalent, because it's pretty apparent this does not belong over here, but this one does. So all I'm going to do is take this, move it into place, so you can see how this fits snugly over here. So we're not dealing with any complicated problems like that. The next thing to do is put these pair in as well. So I'm going to look for the other black and green, which is somewhere right over here, black and green. Now, so one of them is just going to have two colors. The other one that has two colors is going to have a third, and that's going to be very useful in deciding where the other centers go. Now, because this is already matched with a green, this one I want to match with a black. Which black? Well, we'll see. Here's a black over here. If I move this in, you can see this is the wrong one, which is fine because I didn't want to break this anyway. So I need to find the other black, which is right over here. So this is going to be just a matter of lining it up. Now I'm going to take this, move this into here. I don't want to destroy this, so I'm going to bump this out of the way and move this down. So we're good. Now I simply move this across from where it's supposed to be, position it, and there it is. So there's our first center. Now the next center we could have done almost randomly and then just decided the rest of the perspective, but in this case not so much. Remember, this center doesn't define a one-colored side. Instead, three centers are going to share one side, basically, are going to share the color of a side. So what's going to happen over, say, here is going to be another green. So let's just put another green. I've already got these green and reds kind of in position. I've already found those, so that was easy. Anyway, I'm just going to move one of this green into the one place, the one place it's supposed to be. So get my perspective here. So this is made with plastic sheets, as you can see. Okay, will it match with this? Move it in, and yes it does. So I'm going to just keep that here. Now I know where the other one is, which is here. I'm going to put the red one in. So let's bump this out of the way like so. Splat. So let's find a red trapezoidal piece. I've got two to choose from here. So I'm just going to move this one in, and I see that that matches. So now I'm just going to move it in to this area over here. Again, I'm not knocking anyone's socks off. This is pretty straightforward. Okay, so I take a look at this. Here's a center, here's a center. This is going to end up to be my green pseudo side, false side. So this, and this center is all going to share a green color. What that means is the next center pieces that are going to come over here must have a green color. So notice if I turn this blue over here, this isn't the right one, but this will kind of define the green side. So I need to find the one with the blue here, or with a green rather, and that'll tell me what the other colors are. So where is one with a green? This one right over here. So this guy belongs in this center. So I know that the colors that are going to go there are going to be the orange and the yellow. Now what I could do is, before I take this and move this into here, I don't want to make it too confusing, but before I do that, I could just move another color in with this, either an orange one over here or a yellow one over here. Let's see if I can easily do that. Do I have something that I can quickly put in? I've got this orange. So I'm going to take this orange and line it up with this, if it indeed is the right one. I've got this orange too, so I've got a couple to choose from. Right now I've got to move this in place. Okay. So will this orange suffice? Okay, so I'm going to take this, move it into here. And you can see it's fine. Now, because I shifted this whole thing down, I'm going to bump this out of the way and shift the whole thing back up, just so that I put back what I took out. Okay, now that I've done that, I'm going to move this into its proper position, which is in this center area over here, to line up with these greens. Let's move this bad boy up. Okay, so I'm going to take this, move it into this center position by moving it up. Then I'm going to bump this out of the way. So I'm being very descriptive just in case someone watching this is somebody who might not have solved a 4x4 before. And down. Okay, so this is in configuration, this is fine. Now I need to find the other yellow and orange. It's going to actually match up with this. The other yellow and orange is right over here. So this guy belongs here. Now I could just do a sliding U technique to bring him in. I could do that. As a matter of fact, why don't I do that? The way that that's going to work is this is going to come up here from this plane, from the right, slide it to the left, like so, then bring this down on the left, slide the U back to the right, bring it up on the right, which puts this back in, slide it back to the left, bring it up on the left. So that's what I mean by the sliding U technique. So now I've got three centers, but see how I've coordinated that. If I hold this over here, these greens line up in a plane. This is going to become your pseudo green side. All of these are going to be green, all the edges and the corners and all that good stuff. Anyway, it did define where my centers are supposed to be. So this center is right, so is this, so is this. So that tells me that the next one, this center, has to be orange, and it also shares the color with black. So it's going to be orange and black. So I'm going to look for orange and black, which is right over here. Okay, orange and black. So it's not the majority of the color, but it's where it's supposed to be. So orange and black is going to belong here. The major colors are going to be orange and blue. So I'm going to move this into here. But before I do that, here's a blue one, and there's two blues. Let's move one of these guys in this position, and then move it in. So that's what I'm going to do. So which blue? This one? Move it in, and yes, this is fine. So before, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move this back into this plane, which I moved down, and move it up like so, kersplat. Okay, now I'm going to find the other orange and blue, and move that in conjunction with the proper orange. So find the other orange and blue right over here. Now this blue lined up with this blue, so I want this orange to line up with its own orange. Here's an orange over here, Is this the correct one? Well, let's move this to here, and we'll move this to here, bring it down, and as you can see it is. However, I can't move this in here. Oh, yeah, actually we're good. So I'm not going to destroy this by moving this down like so. Now I simply just turn this to the side here and bring it back up. So bang, this is in. I'm going to move this in as correct perspective so I can keep my perspective. So this is good, and you can see now we're defining the orange side right over here. So this is my original center. This is in, this is in, this is in. So the next one that's got to come in over here, it's going to have black in it. It's the remaining center that has any black pieces at all, right? So that's going to be here. And this is almost already completely set up. So it's the red and black. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two, move it up into this position. So we go... Now notice I'm not doing algorithms. Don't really need to do that yet. It's all just positioning, like I showed with this guy. So we move them up. Now to put these centers back in that I took out, move it out of the way, and move it back down. Okay? Now this has to come into here. This red one is already where it needs to be. So I could just do a sliding U technique again to bring it in. That way I don't have to be too fancy about it. But I want this guy to move into here. So follow me with this. If this becomes the up over here, we're going to move this into place from the left side, slide the U, so to speak, slide this to the right, bring it down on the right. Slide it back to the left, now go up on the left, slide it back on the right, and slide it up on the right. And we're good. So we're good over here. Just for the sake of perspective, I'm moving this in so you can see my false black side over here. So now we're down to the last two centers, I believe. This is put in, this is put in, this is put in, and this is put in. We're actually not down to the last two centers. We're down to the last center. So we put everything in except the last one. Now notice, I guess I should have pointed out when we were on the last two centers, but it turned out that this and this were the last two centers. My suggestion is focus on all but the last center. Don't try to do any correlations. Now, the previous tutorial is I had this algorithm that did a 3-cycle and we coordinated it to where we got both centers in at the same time. My suggestion is actually not to do that. There's an easier way. My suggestion is that when you get to the last two centers, just go ahead and do a sliding U technique to bring everything in on one center, and then we deal with this individually. Because it's easy. The way that I look at this is, remember how I said that I look at a 4x4 as a corners-only puzzle, and all the edges and centers are actually embedded underneath, they're actually on the inside? Well, I'm going to use these as corners. So when you have the last step of like a 2x2, you look at two corner pieces that are correct and two that are not. Basically, these two have to swap. So I'm going to hold it in this position where the two corner pieces that are correct are on the left side, and now we want to swap these two. So we're going to do a corner swapping algorithm. Now, you may say, well, wait a minute, you can't do a single swap. That's impossible. So I would say to that, you're absolutely right. It is impossible. So we're not actually swapping these two. What the corner swap algorithm does is it holds this constant, this steady, it keeps this here. This goes to here, this goes to here, and this goes to here. So in essence, this ends up on this side, which will be lined up with this piece here correctly. These two remain in the same configuration, just slide over here. So when we turn it back, these two which were here then come back here. These are in the proper configuration, so it looks like it's swapped, but it didn't really swap. You just did a 3-cycle, and these remained in the same conjunction with each other. That corner swapping algorithm is something that we use in cuboids all the time. So let's demonstrate it on this 2x2x2. We're going to swap these two. To our U, to our UI, to R. Then you do a UI and a D. Then to R, UI, to R, U, to R. And this moves back, like so. So basically it looks like, in essence, what we did is we swapped these two. this was supposed to be here and this was supposed to be here. We didn't do any turning, so it appeared to break parity laws, but it really didn't. Because notice, as I move this here, when I swap this, this is going to be here, this is going to be here, this is going to be here. 2R U, 2R UI, 2R UI D, 2R UI, 2R U, 2R. Now, in essence, I'm about to flip this back, but really what happened is that you'd have to flip this back and this back. So really, that's really what happened. But it looks like it had swapped up, but that's the same algorithm. So all we have to do is in your last center, find the two that you have to swap and do that. But you're going to move all of these together as you would a 2x2, as you would corners. So we're going to swap these two by going 2R U, 2R UI, 2R. Then we do the top UI and just the bottom D, just the bottom layer, and then 2R UI, 2R U, 2R. And in essence, that will get your last layer. So I wouldn't fret about it. I wouldn't do anything more complicated with it. Just do that. So get all your centers right up into the last two. With the last two, just focus on one using sliding U techniques. And then with the last center, just treat it as you would the corners of a 2x2. Because really, these aren't real centers. They're really just specialized corners. They can be treated the same way. The real center is hidden underneath. So once you've done that, the next part is just edge reduction, and edge reduction is really just more assembly than solving. It's like putting in a jigsaw puzzle. And the basic technique is if you see the red and yellow, you got the red and yellow over here. We line this up, bring this down to here. You're going to exchange this edge pair with this edge pair over here. So you're going to move it down in position, move it out of the way, bring this down in its position, move it back up, and then bring it up. In that way, you'll have this one done. You just keep doing that all around the puzzle until you end up with something that looks like this. Something like this, where you can see that all these edges are done, centers are done. You've got it down to the last two edges. So what you're going to do is you're going to do another 3 cycle. That's going to look like a 2 cycle. This will come down here, this will come down here, so it's going to look like these two are going to swap. They're actually not. What's going to happen is this will come here, this will go here, and this will go here. So what that's going to be is if you want to do it started from this angle here, you move this into this position, and then do the algorithm R, FI, U, RI, F, and swing it back. And you can see that seems to have done the trick. Now, you could have done it the same way, swing it this way. If you do, then hold it over here and do R, FIU, RIU, F, something like that. Anyway, so you bring that back over here and it's as simple as that. This really doesn't have anything more involved in that process. It's the same thing, you just have to remember that you're putting all these trapezoidal pieces together and these bilayered pieces together as well. So for instance, you see this red. I'm going to look for the other small, well, this might be easier. Here's a yellow. You got the small yellow trapezoidal piece. Put this in position. Bring this to here. Now remember, we're going to be exchanging it with these edge pieces, so these can't be solved. So what we do is we take this, bring this down in position here, then we bump it out of the way to here, then just exchange it with this edge piece here, turn, turn, and then bring this back up like so. So now this is in, and I'm just going to do this all around the puzzle. An example of these kind of pieces, this is red and blue for me. Now your color scheme may very well be different. So I'm looking for the other red and blue. It's going to be large blue, small red. And that's going to be right over here. So these guys belong together because they're the same color scheme. So I'm going to just put it in position. Bring this up over here. Nope, wrong side. Okay, so this is going to end up down here. These aren't solved, so we bring it down, exchange it with this and bring it up. Continuing to follow suit, we can do the blue. Here's big blue over here. So we just move this in position just above this. And now this will find its way down here to be exchanged with these guys. The good thing about 4-layer puzzles is you get all the solves of the big puzzles, but without the tedium of having to do the same things too many times over and over again. And just when you're getting sick and tired of this kind of reduction, you're done. This moves up over here. So we keep going. Okay, so now we have much of our edges in. I know it's kind of hard to visualize, but we're down to the last 2 edges. This belongs next to here. Well, yeah, next to here, and this green and orange, yellow rather, belongs next to here. So we're in that same situation, and it's done exactly the same way. This will go here, this will go here, and this will go here. So it looks like these two will flip-flop. And the way that this is going to work is you take this, move it into this position, then do R, Fi, U, Ri, F, and swing it back. In so doing, these are put in. So now all of these are reduced, and just like this is going to be looked at as the solve of a 3x3, this will be pretty much the solve of a 3x3 axis cube. So you can proceed accordingly exactly the same way. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this to the last layer. That's what's going to be the most useful to us. Okay, so we're there. But what we'll do is we'll go through the axis version of the solve. So we'll get back to the green and black. Okay, so what I'm looking for is the green wedge shape to match with these two, and that's this over here. So understand, just for the sake of perspective, this is my top layer here. This is the bottom layer that I'm going to swing everything into to put into position. So I move this into position here, swing it up. And the thing about a supercube is you have to orient the center as you're orienting the edges. You don't have to orient centers here. Okay, so this is already in place. Now I'm looking for the black and orange, and that's going to be this. So let's move this to the bottom. And after doing that, we'll line this up here and splat. One more, the green and orange. See if it's down here. Nope, it's over here. Boy, everything is in pretty close proximity. What I'm doing is I'm just doing a 3x3 axis solve. Right now I'm struggling to line it up. There we go. And in. Okay, so this is the cross. Here, 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 and here. Corners, we find, here's a little orange corner. Bring this down. This is the RIDIRD portion of our journey. And move this up. So this is in. Now I'm looking for the green, little green corner, which is right here. Same thing. And up. And now this one, the red, black, rather the green, black, and red corner, is it down here? Nope, it's over here. So let's find the little black one here, and we'll put this into place. Turn. 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 Nope. And up, and finally the black one here. Move this into position, and up. Oh, it's wrong side. And up. Okay, so what we have is we've got the first side. So this is the first side with all 3 colors here. Now take this side, turn it upside down, so this is on the bottom. And now we're going to start shuttling these guys in through the top. So what belongs here? Well, this red belongs down here, and orientation has a meaning here. So this is going to be flush against this. So we're going to do 3x3 algorithms to bring this down. U, R, UI, RI, UI, FI, U, F. I'm not writing this algorithm down because it's just the 3x3 beginner's method. which I assume knowledge of. Now we need the green and yellow, which is here. So let's get this out by putting the orange, but we can't because it's here. So let's go ahead and put the black and green, but we can't because it's here. So all these are in the proper place. Layer rather, just not the proper place. So let's just arbitrarily move this guy out. Turn, turn, turn. And down. Okay, now the one that we took out was the green and black, rather the blue and black. So this is going to move down to here. UI, LI, U, L, U, F, and UI, FI. And like a cascade, what was bumped out can find a place here somewhere, and that's going to be this one. So this has to come over to here in this orientation where it faces the tip. The corner over here, the small corner, turn, 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 up. So I'm just demonstrating this layer here without too much description, just to show it. Okay, now finally this comes down into here. You can see the green is on the bottom, so I'm going to face the green to the bottom and we'll move it down. Again, let me know how the mass-produced version is. You can see that this is very catchy because you've got all these sharp extensions in there. Boom. Okay, so now we have it down to the last layer, just like we did over here.